Monday, August 3rd, 2026, and a lot's going on in the world, and we'll be talking about that here on Pod TV, seeing what folks have to say about a number of these stories and how they are impacting them or not impacting them. Trump says the new Iran negotiations starting, and folks, including those at Al Jazeera, are asking what we know about these. And even Fox News is saying Trump can declare Iran victory now and withdraw troops, is what a former counterterror official is arguing. And some folks are even asking, did Trump finally find an off ramp for the Iran war? For Iran, Trump's reversal on escalation shows who has the upper hand, is what the New York Times is reporting. Spain installed sea barriers on Ceuta's border with Morocco after a frontier rush that killed 67. As a matter of fact, Euro News is reporting at least 88 dead in Ceuta migrant rush, Spanish officials are saying. Spain's Ceuta overwhelmed as thousands remain after a migrant border rush. And Aung San Suu Kyi, Myanmar's military releases photo of detained former leader. So the Myanmar junta allows Aung San Suu Kyi rare contact with an outsider. Myanmar's detained former leader Aung San Suu Kyi has a rare meeting with that with an international leader, is what it looks like folks are saying, and all along those lines. And Israel kills 19 in Gaza as attacks escalate despite the latest Trump plan. The Board of Peace envoy laments recent Gaza strikes amid effort to implement the Trump plan. Hamas tells mediators Israeli airstrikes are derailing the Gaza plan. And Israel's fresh strikes on Gaza cast doubt on the peace plan revival. President's top ally in Ukraine, Umarov, appointed the head of Foreign Intelligence Service. So Ukraine's top negotiator, Umarov, to head the Foreign Intelligence Service. And it looks like that's something that's going on in terms of a change in government over there. Suspect arrested in Greece after British woman's body found in a suitcase. Man was arrested after a Scottish woman found dead inside suitcase in Athens. Greek police fast-tracking tests to find out how British woman found in a suitcase died. And apparently an Afghan who was 26 was arrested over the death of this particular woman. Russia's online retailer Wildberries says warehouse on fire after Ukraine drone attack. So Ukraine hits Wildberries warehouse in latest infrastructure strike away from the front lines. Hundreds of firefighters are battling the blaze at the Wildberries warehouse in Russia's Vladimir region. So they made a living on Russia's Amazon. Ukrainian attacks have sent it up in flames. And Nero, the world's third largest, smallest country, changes its name to Naoero. So it was spelled Nauru, and now it's spelled Naoero. But that's the world's uh, third smallest country, and it's changing its name. Israel says it has serious concerns with the Hamas disarmament deal. So that is something that folks are talking about as well. And we'll be hearing what folks have to say about that. Trump and Netanyahu may be at odds over the Gaza plan. Israel convoys concerns to the U.S. about Hamas disarmament deal, and Trump's historic deal to disarm Hamas faces an uphill climb. Russian General Alexander Cheko appears to have been the target of a Moscow attack and everything like that. So, Russian embassy in Rome blames Ukraine for a deadly Italian restaurant bombing in Moscow. Russia blames Ukraine for that deadly restaurant bombing that took place, and Steve Rothenberg was at the Moscow restaurant where the bomb killed three, according to a report in the BBC. South Korea raises heat response level amid historic weather. Stop all outdoor activities. South Korea records its highest ever temperature. South Korea has hottest day on record amid extreme weather globally. Korea heat wave breaks record, dries farms, and disrupts summer life nationwide. So that hit record heat wave spreads across the Korean peninsula and is prompting some emergency actions and all along those lines. So that is definitely something that is taking place as well. And South Korea ditches its denuclearization first strategy. What will Pyongyang do next? Two dead after firefighting helicopters collide in Greece. Greece wildfire in pictures, according to CNBC.com. Firefighters battle blaze worsened by 100-kilometer-per-hour winds. And choppers collide, killing two as fires and foreboding grip Greece. A blaze on an Indonesian passenger ferry leaves at least 5 dead and dozens missing. And Japan mall worker 22 dies in a gas explosion after earthquakes took place in that area. So 2 workers were killed in an Aeon mall blast after re-entering on the boss's orders. A woman with an apparent heat stroke was found dead while taking shelter in a car in quake-hit Japan. Japan Prime Minister visits quake-hit Kumamoto Prefecture to assess the situation. And Hungary plans to shut down the only nuclear power plant amid the drought. Hungary's only nuclear plant on the brink of a shutdown as Europe's heat wave threatens the energy crisis. Romania blasts rocks to reroute Danube water to reactor. Hungary gets a reprieve. And Southeastern Europe faces heat wave energy crunch as Romania detonates Danube rock to increase the water flow. So that is something going on in that area as well. Zelensky warns air defenses are being overwhelmed as Russia pounds Ukraine, killing 9. 9 killed in strikes on Kyiv as Ukraine sinks Russian container ship. Russia and Ukrainian strikes kill 14 on both sides. Ukraine seeks more U.S. Patriot interceptors as bomb shelters probe deepens. And famed mountaineer Nirmal Purjo dies in a Pakistan avalanche. An avalanche in Pakistan killed the famed mountaineer Nirmal Purjo and his fellow climbers. Definitely, she closed her Pilates studio to chase a mountaineering dream. Then tragedy struck, is what CNN is reporting. And Britain's Lula launches a re-election bill as concerns rise over foreign interference. Brazil's Lula launches a 4th-term bid focuses on national sovereignty. Lula's lead over Bolsonaro narrows in the Brazil election poll. Brazil's Lula says he's in great shape as he launches a 4th-term bid. The Berlin Pride attack shames the German establishment. Germany News, DP hammered by organized irresponsibility. The Berlin attack exposes deep failings in the state, and Europe continues to celebrate Pride events after the deadly attack on the Berlin parade. There's still joy. He was laid off from a corporate job at 50, is what the Business Insider is saying. He decided to make the career move that scared him the most. So that's a story that is out there as well. And definitely things are going on in that Iran U.S. war and everything like that. A suicide bomber kills 14 outside a police station in Pakistan's Swat. Pakistan police station bombing kills at least 14. Suicide bomber strikes anti-militant rally in northwestern Pakistan, killing at least 14. And tremors felt in southern Israel after Egypt earthquake. 5.6 magnitude earthquake strikes north of Egypt's Suez. No damage reported. 5.0 magnitude earthquake shakes Egypt, and a man flees a hotel room as lamp shakes during the earthquake. Tremors felt in southern Israel after that magnitude 5.6 earthquake struck Egypt. No damage was reported in that area. And dry, hot summers are putting Dutch dikes at risk and apparently threatening some of the German rivers. Rhine water level drops to around record lows. Cost for industry is rising. Another critical oil waterway is about to close. Rhine drought strands ships and forces German production cuts. So that's just some of the news going on. I'm going to bring in Rick Rosner, see what he's got going on. I didn't get to any of the news on the national side, but I'm sure there is news on the national side. But that was a bunch of news taking place in the world, even though I do see that.
All right, so we're beginning week 14 of gas being over $4 a gallon national average. Week 22 of gas being more than $3.50 a gallon. You might remember that Trump repeatedly promised us $2 a gallon gas, and we're at twice that. Capital One, the banks, have closed Trump organization accounts because they think that there's money laundering going on.
With Trump, that
So
wouldn't surprise me at all. It looks like the wildfires aren't just prompting evacuations in uh, Europe, but apparently there's 65,000 people who were evacuated in Spokane County there in Washington State, and that's apparently causing heartbreaking devastation. So it looks like this forced a whole lot of people to be leaving their area in Spokane, Washington as well.
okay, there's a thing that I don't understand. David Walker can explain it next hour.
Yes.
The U.S. has bought billions of dollars worth of the Japanese yen
Yeah.
in order to prop up Japan so that Japan can keep buying our debt, I guess. I don't know. It's over my head a little bit. But what I got to say is I came to the conclusion based on what I see on Twitter and just in general that having to continue to believe in Trump is actually making a lot of MAGA people crazy. So statistics.
It's making MAGA people crazy, but I did see an article. I think they said.
Well, hold on. Let me get to my point. That the general population, 1 to 3% of the general population, has schizophrenic delusions, right? Mm-hmm. I believe that it might be up to 10% of MAGA because Trump keeps getting crazier. Over the weekend, he announced he won another golf that he shot a 70 and won a golf tournament at Bedminster Club, which he owns. He's won 43 golf tournaments at the clubs he owns. He's 80 now, by the way. The last time he played in a tournament not at one of his clubs, he shot 52 over par and came in 62nd at a celebrity golf tournament. So when he's playing at his own clubs, he does much better because he cheats. He put up images. He tweeted out images on Truth Social of himself as Elvis. He's does crazy crap every day. He doesn't fulfill any of his promises. And I believe this is making the people who have to keep supporting him nuts.
So yeah, but I get your point. But one of the things that I saw over this weekend was that apparently in several battleground states, even with MAGA support, he is way underwater, and the Republicans are a little bit nervous about this because he is losing, and I think it's like 6 or 7 of the battleground states. I forget the exact amount, but he's losing.
Yeah, his poll numbers are the lowest he's ever polled, right, and are lower than any president in recent history. So yeah, on all the major issues, he does worst on, I believe, inflation. Let me go over here. I got to reload the page, but I believe he's like 43 points underwater on taming inflation. Let's see, where is the? So he's 13 points underwater on immigration, 22.5 points underwater on trade, and on the general economy, he's negative 28 points. That is, you take the number of people who think he's doing a good job, you subtract the number of people who think he's doing a bad job. And he's got big negative numbers on everything.
Yeah, and he got in trouble with this whole anti-weaponization fund, but apparently Todd Blanche has terminated the Trump's anti-weaponization fund, so I guess they won't be able to give money to folks that they were feeling were being attacked or whatever. But he did.
Let's be more specific. So Trump wanted the government. Trump was suing the government for $10 billion because the IRS, somebody at the IRS leaked his tax information. That was thrown out. The judges said, you are the government, you can't sue yourself. And then Trump said, all right, I won't do that anymore. I won't do that lawsuit if you give me $1.8 billion to give to the people that I think were harmed by the government, which includes the 1,500 people who were arrested for storming the Capitol. He wanted to give all of them money. He's given some of them money. Ashley Babbitt, the woman who was shot by a police officer trying to break into the Capitol. Her survivors were given, he gave them $5 million. So he wants 1.8 billion, and the Senate was saying we're not going to confirm Todd Blanche as Attorney General unless he promises, maybe even signs something saying that he won't keep asking for that $1.8 billion.
Well, I know that somebody that Michael Patmos is not a big fan of was in the news recently because he clashed with CNN's Dana Bash over public health, that being RFK Jr., and apparently he was pushing measles vaccines and was blaming Fauci's COVID-19 handling. So he's telling U.S. families to vaccinate children against measles amid an outbreak that is going on there, but he's targeting Fauci, and apparently he had some.
All right, so let's that's one of the things where that makes me think MAGAs are just now full on crazy now. So RFK Jr. goes on State of the Nation with Dana Bash,
right,
and he says that we've currently have the biggest measles outbreak since 1991. We had measles fixed; it was 0 cases a year, or maybe 3 cases a year. Now we're at 3,000 cases. And RFK goes on, we had COVID lockdown 6 years ago. And RFK says that we're having a measles epidemic now because of the COVID lockdown 6 years ago. Crazy crap. And MAGA still has to, and a lot of, if you go on Twitter, people are saying she did really good in trying to hold him, but she didn't let him get away with just saying ridiculous stuff without her questioning him. And some people thought she did a good job. The MAGAs all thought that he went on TV and humiliated her, even though his answers, a lot of them were nonsensical. So and we've got 3 months until the midterms, and shit is just going to get crazier. Let's check in with Sasha.
Yep.
Actually, I saw that interview, by the way, yesterday on CNN. And the funniest exchange was when he said to her something in effect that, look, you are not a scientist, so you cannot appreciate it. And she immediately said, you are also not a scientist. Remember that. That was the funniest thing.
Yeah, that was probably the best exchange. But MAGA viewers didn't get to see that unless they watched the whole interview.
Oh, yeah.
Like Fox News isn't going to show them that exchange.
No, they're not going to show that at all. By the way, it does look like the Senate GOP is rushing to pass a budget bill. They want to avoid another shutdown ahead of the midterm. So what is y'all's thoughts, Sasha and Rick? Are we going to see that? Because apparently even the Republicans joined in rebuking the White House over science funding. So, but they're trying to come up with a plan.
So I assume we'll get one. I assume they'll try to sneak voter suppression measures into it.
Yeah.
And if they do, then the Democrats aren't going to vote for it. So we'll see if they can come up with a budget bill that lacks the extraneous crap that would make them not pass it.
Yeah, that makes sense and everything like that. Hey, just really quick, because that happens occasionally, not as often as in the U.S., but it does happen in Canada. We have these shootings, and there was a shooting yesterday at an In-N-Out Burger in Twin Falls, Idaho. But when the shots rang out at Twin Falls, apparently one of the Idaho men shot back, and they were even saying that he was an armed bystander that distracted the gunman in this fatal In-N-Out shooting. So I just wanted to the two of you gentlemen, I don't carry a weapon. I do have friends that have weapons, but if you were in those situations, would you be one of those folks that would be trying to be brave and maybe get the gunman down and everything?
You could call it brave, or you could call it stupid. I don't know, if there's an active shooter and you're, 100 feet away with your own gun and their back is to you, I guess you shoot at them. I used to be a little wussy pussy guy, and then I started bouncing bars, and I bounced bars for 25 years. And so now if shit happens, I'll tend to run towards it because I tended not to get my ass kicked too bad when I walked into fights. You don't. Oh, by the way, you don't walk into the middle of a fight. Because then both people hit you. You walk up behind one of the fighters and you grab them and you throw them out of the way. But anyway, like I learned to be a little braver than I am naturally. So maybe if I were in Idaho and if I had a gun and if the guy's back was to me, then I'd probably take a couple shots at him.
And I'm not even sure if he took shots at him or just took shots toward him because they said he was trying to distract him and everything.
Okay, I mean, okay.
So, but he was just
Well, that seems like maybe a better idea, because if you're shooting at the guy, you're gonna miss the guy most likely, and your bullets are gonna hit somebody innocent.
yeah, and that's what I think he was probably afraid of. I don't know whether Sasha would be that. Well, he was in the military, so you would probably try to take him out if you had a gun handy or something like that. I did see, because we've been talking about this for a number of times on the network, this notion of the Democratic Socialists versus the established Democrats, and they are saying that this, I think today, Abdul El Saeed will be facing Haley Stevens in the Michigan Senate primary, and apparently the AIPAC has spent a whole lot of money against Abdul El Saeed, and definitely they're saying if you pay it, it's actually going to be tomorrow. They're saying if you pay attention to only one primary election this midterm, make it this one on Tuesday. So Tuesday.
AIPAC is what you just AIPA is the Israeli Political Action Committee in the U.S. and they donate a ton of money to candidates. You know, we've been good friends with Israel since it became a nation 76 years ago. It's more than that, longer. And it's only in the last few years that there's been a growing disagreement with Israel because people don't like the way Netanyahu is running the Gaza war.
Yeah, definitely that's going on there and everything like that. Coming back to other news, apparently Representative Max Miller is denying these domestic abuse allegations that he is facing, but the GOP Senator Bernie Moreno says that former son-in-law Max Miller should not serve in the House. So saying that Max Miller needs serious psychological help. So
Max Miller made a speech yesterday, or a public statement. His wife is accusing him of breaking their baby daughter's collarbone, along with throwing boiling water at her when she was holding the baby. And Max Miller went on TV yesterday and said, look, if I'd done that, he didn't deny it, but he said, if I did do that, would she have made me dinner 6 days after the incident? And everybody called bullshit on this because everybody knows if you're in a relationship with an abusive person, yeah, you might have to still deal with them. And saying that she cooked him dinner after the abuse doesn't, especially since he didn't deny the abuse. So he's probably
with Stockholm syndrome and everything like that. That people that are in abusive, even in war situations, sometimes will do things that are out of the that are more normal than would be expected.
Right. So Stockholm syndrome is where you fall in love with your kidnapper.
Right.
But you don't have to be in love with your abuser to cook him dinner if you're raising a kid together and you're not ready to leave the relationship. Somebody has to make dinner.
I did see another story that involves you, but I'd love to hear Sasha's thoughts around this as well. But the billionaire tax is endorsed by the California Democrats, and this is the tax that they want to put on the billionaires and everything along those lines. But I heard that Governor Newsom is, in the latest poll, is only polling like at around maybe 8% or something like that, because the leaders in the Democratic Party in terms of the latest poll are AOC, who is beating Pistol Pete Buttigieg and everything like that. So they are.
It's still 28 months.
It's very early.
It's still 27 months until the presidential election. It's still at least 8 months too soon to start handicapping that frickin' election. So you're saying that Newsom, if you polled every Democrats as to who they want to run for president, AOC outpolls Newsom, and it's too early. And they're asking the people who I guess are paying attention, which are the lunatics like me who pay attention. Most people are 2 years away from paying attention to who's going to be president. And so you can't, these polls are at this point in time are worthless.
And apparently, there's a lot of pushback even on some of the popular candidates. I know there's some people on this network that are big fans of Andy Beshear, and apparently there's a big event in Kentucky called Fancy Farm that has barbecue candidates, jokes, and a lot of other things. But Andy Beshear did not make it, and he fired back at Paul and Barr after mentioning this Fancy Farm picnic. And apparently the Kentucky Republicans also unwittingly threw McConnell under the bus. But Andy Beshear wrote on his thing, "Sorry to miss Fancy Farm today, but let me get in on the apparently said I'd been neutered by my legislature or a guy who's never had a pair of balls, and if he did, they'd Trump." He was kind of back on Trump.
So what's going on in Beshear's state is today, I think, is the deadline for Mitch McConnell to not be dead.
Okay.
So it's been a month and a half where Mitch McConnell has been missing. But now if they announce he's dead, they don't have to, they made it to August 3rd, so they don't have to hold a special election. So people are expecting finally, maybe not, maybe they'll keep hiding him, some truth out of McConnell's people as to what shape he's in.
Speaking of truth, how much should we be getting into people's personal business? Because apparently the Republicans want to talk about James Tallarico's manhood, and Tallarico is saying, let them. And even the Atlantic is reporting that this is a masculinity scam and everything like that. So apparently there are people that want to make attacks on people's sexuality or whatever they've got going on. But this is a news story coming out, and Tallarico, we know, is a prominent candidate. But how much do we?
All right, so Tallarico's running for Senate against Ken Paxton. Paxton is a terrible candidate. He's a criminal. He's been under indictment for securities fraud for more than 10 years. His wife dumped him for multiple infidelities. To help cover up all the screwing around he was doing, he entered into a scheme where he accepted bribes from political supporters in order for their silence. He made deals with people who knew he was banging everybody. He let off a pedophile with a guy who was raping a little boy for years. He let off this guy with less than a month in jail. Paxton is, even now, while he's supposed to be campaigning, he was in London with his mistress. And so the Republicans don't have a lot to attack Tallarico for, who's a seminary student studying to be a clergyman. So they're calling him a fag and a pussy.
Yeah, that's how they're trying to attack his masculinity and everything like that. So yeah.
And I wish Tallarico would take it right back to him and say, well, all right, you think I'm a pussy? Let's do a 3-ring fight. I'll box you. Because the people who are calling him a pussy are themselves not in the best, most masculine shape. Paxton is a fat piece of crap. The Lieutenant Governor, Dan Patrick, is an old piece of crap. The governor, Greg Abbott, has been in a wheelchair for 25 years. None of these guys are paragons of masculinity.
Not paragons at all. By the way, and I know that you and Toby talk about it quite often, but it looks like there is a rise in people that are interested in taking AI courses. So that was an article that was in the AP earlier today and everything like that. So apparently some students that didn't even have a background in coding and were maybe majoring in things like cyber.
If you're learning coding right now,
when their parents suggested that they go into AI, but now they begin to see it differently and they want to get into it.
You're 10 years too late to learn coding. You're 10 years too late for that. AI is doing a ton of fucking coding. And you can learn how to talk to AI.
No, they're actually learning courses. And that's what they're getting courses in. They're enrolling in classes on artificial intelligence, not on
I mean,
coding.
that's great. It won't
the
necessarily
background.
get you a job, but as AI becomes more pervasive, yeah, everybody will be talking to AI. I mean, when you type a query into Google now, you're talking to AI, because before Google gives you the links that you might be looking for, Google AI gives you a paragraph answering your question before you even need to look at the links. So everybody's talking to AI now anyway. And it's okay if some people want to take courses into how to talk better to AI. I guess that's okay, but it's also kind of goofy. It'd be like, in 1920, taking a course in how to drive a car. Okay, fine. It's something you probably have to do. I don't know.
Well, I mean, what they're saying is
What
that
do you
hiring
think?
people for entry-level software developers, work increasingly done by AI agents. And I even heard somebody recently in a place that I was at talking about how AI was taking graphic design jobs, and they were saying that college enrollment in computer and information science programs has been declining. Yet at campuses across the country, many professors are finding themselves busier than ever teaching students from a range of majors about artificial intelligence. So apparently, artificial intelligence is
So I'm sure
big
that a lot of the
college course,
courses, a lot of the courses still offered at colleges now would again be like in 1920, offering courses in how to deal with horses. Horses are done, and now you got to deal with cars. And I'm sure that a lot of professors are teaching courses that are 10, 15 years out of date as to what's going on with technology. Jacoby, talk to us, because you're the one who's steeped in technology.
I mean, I'm just focused on trying to get this convention off the ground, so I'm listening to the in and out of the conversation. But yeah, steeped in technology. I mean, yeah, AI is huge. There are layoffs in the technology world. People have to learn how to navigate it. I mean, it's here to stay. The sad part is it's only getting bigger because companies find a cheap way to hire the cheapest individual.
So what if you say you had a nephew who just got into Syracuse University and she says, what the heck, I want to go into tech. What should I study? AI is laying waste to everything. What should I study at university?
I mean, first you have to decide on what exactly you want to study, and it's not a suggestion of what should I study from the AI perspective. If you're into graphics design and me telling you to go into coding, it's not really what you should do. You should go back into graphics design. That's what you should study because that's what you planned on doing. If you're into coding and doing website or social media, because they're even taking some social media coordinating positions. Yeah, if that's what you want to do, study that. But you learn how to use AI as a tool, and not advocating for AI. It's just you just got to learn in the technology realm. Actually, in every aspect of our lives, AI is going to be there. It's a sad reality, because that's what companies and countries are pushing for. I mean, heck, policing is there.
Yeah.
So everything.
Check in with Sasha too, because Sasha, like, there's been a bunch of AI companies have been dropping value. So AI is tearing everything up at the same time. It's having a hard time holding value. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. The problem is that it's all to do with data centers. Because the data centers, that's what eventually will be, or should become, or could become a cornerstone of AI revolution, because there are incredible facilities that can process data, can give access to data, manipulate data, work with it. And so that requires enormous energy, and a lot of communities, they are against having this data centers. Although even that is not clear to me, because these data centers eventually they will provide incredible quantity of well-paying jobs. And so the community should be interested to have, first of all, their own people to have access to well-paying jobs, and even people who relocate, they will be contributors to local
So I've got a question about
I don't
that.
know.
So I've seen this argument play out, saying that when you build the data center, a lot of jobs building the center, but once it's built, you can have a data center run by half a dozen people. Is that the deal, that once the data center is built, it makes the cost of electricity and water go up in the community? It can be noisy, and it doesn't employ that many people once it's up and running. Is that correct?
So I think, yeah, you're correct. And I think there is a conflict between aspirations of locals who essentially are not benefiting from this wonderful data centers in any way, and say the federal government or state government who want to compete with China, and for that they need data centers and so on, even if it's at the expense of the locals. So this is quite complicated and controversial issue.
So, and are the data centers obsolete in 8 years as the technology? They spend $1 billion building this giant ass data center. Does that thing have to be torn down in 8 years when
we don't know that? How would we know? We don't know.
I don't know. Looking at history, I guess, wildly guess.
It's an unprecedented amount of capital involved to build these data centers. Whether they will be obsolete in 8 years, it's hard to say. I can't answer that.
Okay.
So with data centers, we also forget about we don't understand the amount of the environmental effects that are there. I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's 21 minutes long, but this starts out with telling you, Rick, pieces that we forget about.
Wow, it's just pouring out of that stack. When you see this much color on the screen like this, what does that tell you?
It's showing a heat signature, so we know that pollution is happening at this site.
This is Stargate, one of the largest AI data centers in the world. It's currently under construction in rural Texas. Stargate will eventually include 4 million square feet of buildings across 1,100 acres. That's larger than Central Park.
When we get a look at it, we'll get a real sense of the scale that is involved here. I mean, this is a massive, massive site.
It's estimated that by the year 2030, companies will have invested nearly $7 trillion in data center infrastructure in a race to dominate the AI market. But this race to build AI superiority is happening so fast, many are concerned that companies might be cutting corners or taking advantage of regulatory loopholes, especially when it comes to the electricity and water required to run these massive data centers.
Want any questions answered? We just want it stopped.
People all over the US are raising the alarm about the impacts that these data centers could have on their health, their homes, and their livelihoods. Evan Simon has been investigating data centers around the US. He's already found that some AI data centers are brazenly defying environmental laws, and regulators are doing little to stop it.
There's really a transparency issue around the AI industry right now. It feels like a really important time for us to really pay close attention to these things.
We're teaming up today to take you up above for a different perspective on this science story, using a drone fitted with a thermal camera to investigate what's really happening at one of the world's largest data centers and how it's impacting the people who live in its backyard.
There are a lot of people that have not seen what we hope to show through the drone footage, especially the thermal drone footage.
Is this even legal?
Okay. So,
But yeah, so
this thing is the size of Disneyland.
yeah, but also if you look at what it's talking, if you watch the whole episode, it's a great episode. Matter of fact, I'll share it with you guys real quick. But if you watch the whole episode, it talks about the different health risks, how bad, how it raises the temperature around the area. was it 2 to 3 degrees on average? So you're looking at what data centers do to not only the to the electricity, the water, but then you got to look at the environmental impact of raising the temperature by that amount in particular areas, and how that's going to affect the livelihoods of the individuals. We forget about the noise, the amount of noise that's around there. So now you have noise pollution as well as light pollution and all the others. So the data centers are they definitely have a harmful impact, but they're coming.
And the data center is just row after row of heavy duty computers just flipping
Crunching
ones and
numbers.
zeros all the time. So when you type a question into Google, or if you want to make a picture of Trump riding an elephant, they do the math behind the.
Yep, all it does is computations.
So I have a
And-
question. Shouldn't the data centers somehow compensate the local communities for this effects, negative effects that they have on this local community?
You're asking companies to be ethical and think about people instead of money?
Well, ethical, I don't think that these companies are ethical at all. But if there will be a certain process which may involve even legal actions or and well prepared, of course, and well research, maybe that's enough.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that that's part of what some of the people that are fighting against the data centers are trying to get folks to do. Maybe not so much have the companies do it voluntarily, but have some of the municipalities make certain rules that they have to give either a certain amount of money to the communities, or that they have to do certain things to alleviate the damage. And that's what we're hearing even here in North Carolina. Is that correct?
This is becoming a campaign issue.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Doing good. We're talking about AI and data centers. What ways have you seen data centers being regulated? Because
I've been reading a lot about it and writing a lot about this issue. I want to just pick up on what Rick Rosner just said about it becoming a campaign issue. It's really become, in my opinion, too politicized. I do believe that there should be legitimate concerns about having data centers come in without having the tough questions of the kinds of energy sources that you're going to be able to use to power these data centers. 100,000 ChatGPT searches daily consume enough electricity to power up 30,000 homes. So it should be a cost concern we have in terms of the amount of water and energy resources, whether you're going to be using renewable energy, solar, nuclear, all of the above. That needs to be a part of an AI strategy from the energy companies and from the towns and local governments and states. Now, Governor Stein in North Carolina has now said that he's requiring these data centers to come in with their own power sources. So the governor is addressing this issue. But I think what's happened is, and it goes back to what John Chambers says, we need an AI strategy that's bringing productivity to workforce, one that is training your workforce for the jobs of today. How do we address job obsolescence that's taking place faster than jobs being created? And of course, an energy strategy. But saying I got declined by a progressive news organization writing an article about AI because the progressive Democrats are saying AI is bad. We don't want AI. Stop AI. If you support AI, we're not going to support you. Well, here's my deal. When the cloud came along, did we say stop the cloud? Did we say stop the internet? I mean, this is nonsense.
Well, actually, Steve, I have to push back on that. We're saying that there are concerns about something taking their jobs. The cloud is not taking your job.
The cloud was taking jobs. Yes, it was.
No, not in that sense, Steve. You know that's
not at this rate, but
so that's the point. So if you're going to take 2 jobs, or if you're going to take 100 jobs,
you're going to stop AI. How are you going to stop?
No,
how are you
I'm
going
not
to stop
saying to stop
innovation?
AI. What I'm pushing back on is taking the concerns that are valid concerns and saying that that's nonsense.
Yeah, but progressive Democrats are saying that if you talk about AI, we're not going to support you.
I'm in that world right now because I'm actually putting together a convention that's dealing with independent game developers who've truly been affected by the AI cuts. So I'm actually sitting in that realm and having to battle both ends. So that's why I'm saying that they have valid concerns. For example, 1,000 people getting laid off from Epic Games, 3,000 people getting laid off from Microsoft. Microsoft took the Xbox division and put their old individual who ran AI on top of the Xbox division. And then a few months later, 3,000 people get laid off. So there are valid concerns. Roughly this year, about 90,000 people have been laid off due to the AI concerns. So what we have to do is to understand that AI is coming. We cannot stop that. We have to learn that we have to navigate AI and figure out ways to make it like the cloud, but realizing that it's not like that. And using that as an analogy is dismissing the actual problem that is there. So like I said, nobody is trying to stop AI because we understand AI is there. The problem is that we have to figure a way to navigate AI so it's not the instant horse and buggy to Ferrari. So that's the problem that we're having to deal with right now.
Right. Well, I mean, I think this is something. But anyway, I yield my time to the panelists. I want to hear from Sasha and Rick. But Jyotirvi, thank you for doing the work. At least you're trying to bring people together to have a discussion. And I think that's what has to happen. But I think we have to also realize that it's here and we have to deal with it and figure out how do we, can we limit the amount of jobs being cut? Could we create more funding to get people back to work immediately? There need to be funds in place that can transition these people back into the workforce. Because the less and less people that have jobs, if all the money is going into the few board shareholders in Silicon Valley and the jobs aren't being distributed, then what is our country going to do? What is the world going to do?
And that's where we sit right now, is that a lot of that money or those cuts.
Sasha Star, Sasha, what are your thoughts about this?
My thoughts are very simple. I advise young people to get into professions that are very unlikely soon to be replaced by AI. For example, like a physiotherapist, massage professionals, and such that you can almost sure have jobs in the future, no competition from AI for quite a while. And that's it, because all other professions sooner or later will be replaced. There will be no place, even no, let's see, you're driving a truck long distance hauls and so on. That will be replaced in next maybe year, maybe two. There will be no need for live long distance truck drivers. It all will be done by AI. And take any profession. I don't insist.
AI is coming to Canada big time, data centers, because you have cool temperatures, you have cheap energy. I just looked at an article saying that people are planning up to 96 of these hyper centers, these massive like if you built up around Hudson Bay, it's cold as hell up there. You've got one of the biggest bodies of water in the world. Few people live up there. It's coming.
And that's where the problem comes into play as well, because there's an environmental impact that we're not even taking into account when we're looking at, the cold areas. And if you look at those cold areas, they're now going to be at least 3 degrees warmer in those areas. How does that affect like Sasha, if I remember, you're in the Toronto area.
Yeah.
It doesn't, with the warming of the planet, it's the actual weather that you're having, the climate that you're having to deal with is completely changed.
Just a couple of weeks ago, we have one day when there was no sun, a horrible smell. You couldn't breathe. You had to stay inside with air conditioner. You couldn't get outside of the apartment. It was just one day. Second day was much better, and then slowly it kind of disappeared. I don't know how, but it's evidence that the climate is getting a lot of changes. Yes, for sure.
And with the data centers coming, that's going to also impact that warming because of the amount of energy that it takes to go there.
Yeah.
And then you have to look into the amount of the electrical grid itself is going to be impacted. That's going to warm in that area. So the temperature due to the data center push. And again, it's not we're not going to have data centers. The concern is we have to figure out, because just as with that PBS piece that I was sharing you guys, that's right now, the way they're cooling these areas is using these basic engine turbines and these gas powered things. That's pollutions and putting those pollutants in the air in the areas that are going to be closed. So data centers, it's a complex thing that we keep trying to oversimplify that, hey, it's going to be here, we got to do it. We cannot just look at it that way. And that's why, Steve, again, that's why the pushback is there, is that we're trying to dumb it down to such a simple thing when there's so many complex issues that surround data centers. And I haven't even touched on the ethical side with the jobs. What I'm talking about is just mainly the electricity grid. The U.S.'s electricity grid has to be upgraded completely. We have one of the worst electricity grids across the globe. Our internet grid, we have one of the worst internet grid or networks across the globe. Other countries have, all these higher speeds that are going across. We don't. We're so we're behind the times on a lot of things. That's why the infrastructure bill was a great idea, but the problem is it's being torn apart currently, and people are starting to demonize what was done before, what was to help. So it's a very complex issue that we have to really look at.
However, you could make a sitcom about it. It's
true.
Hudson Bay, and it's the people who live in I can't pronounce these names, but in Nukajak, and there's 3 data centers, and it's a bunch of Inuit people or whatever they call Inuits up in Canada. They're running the data centers, and the data centers have become conscious, and they have to deal with the AIs who are getting recalcitrant, and there's some comedy there, some dark.
Well, I'm getting ready for Economics Monday with David M. Walker as the interim host of the show. But real quickly, Trump still, Iran is denying that they want to talk with Trump, and there's been stuff going on with FIFA lawsuits, and there's a lot of stuff to catch up tomorrow. I want to end with thoughts of former United States Senator Joe Manchin being on Face the Nation yesterday. Interesting, him and his daughter are starting a new organization to fund independent candidates for Congress and the U.S. Senate. Very interesting. That 20 minutes on Face the Nation. I watched it yesterday. I know Senator Manchin. He's a friend of mine from my life in West Virginia. And what he's saying is that the independents are lost now, the middle of the road, that the parties are being driven by the extreme right or the extreme left, and the people in the middle are being left out of the conversation. So that if you had independents, it would actually force the Congress and the Senate to work together to get things done, rather than things getting stuck in committee. Of course, all of this happening while the Democratic Socialist movement seems to be really on the move in these primaries, with all bets on Michigan right now, with I think his name is Al-Attar, I can't remember his name, but a Muslim American Democrat who is projected to win the nomination tomorrow in Michigan, which could be a really interesting test of the Democratic Party, with the moderate Democrats, institutional Democrats losing to these progressives, and will it cost them seats in the House and Senate? It's going to be very interesting to watch Tuesday's results.
Steve, I could ask you a question. Are the ideas of progressive Democrats are so different from mainstream Democrats?
Maybe on the social issues, yes. I think they're a little bit more vocal about kind of the transgender issues, LGBT issues. Certain issues, you got to give them credit. I mean, they do have, Jacoby brought up a good point. I mean, part of the progressives are saying that so much of the wealth is being distributed only to the top income earners in the United States, the elite few, that if jobs are depleted, there's no opportunity to represent people in the working class, the lower classes. So they're much stronger on that, kind of saying we need more progressive issues. So that's where they differ from the moderates. But I think it's hard, Sasha, in the United States to win a presidential election as a progressive. I think it's just really hard.
So we haven't had a new political party in 166 years. Abe Lincoln was the first Republican president, and it's been since then that we've had a new major political party. But right now, more than half of voters are unaligned with either the Republicans or the Democrats. So it could happen.
Yeah. So the big problem is, again, I think the reason the Democratic Socialist movement is actually taking hold is because they're talking about the main things that they're talking about, because they aren't talking about, again, they're not talking about transgender issues. They're not talking about that. The main things they're talking about are a lot of populist things like the you're not making money and all this other things. The ones that the super extremes that Fox News are putting on, those aren't really where the main Democratic Socialist Party is. They're the extremes to combat against, hey, we're going to showcase how crazy these people are.
That's a good,
And so the big reason why a lot of them are catching fire and a lot of them are catching hold of voters that are in the primaries, because El Said might win tonight over in Michigan. The reason that individuals like that are taking hold is because they're seen as doing something and wanting to do something. Mamdani actually doing a lot of what he did because he brought in a lot of ideas that people wanted. And he did a lot of things that people wanted to have happen. And so that's why his popularity is actually pretty high. And that's why a lot of that movement is moving.
Mark, can you get the Economics Monday started? Because I got to get on there.
Yeah, I get it started. I haven't seen David yet, but I said
he said he's coming in right at 11, so we have to get off and get it started. Sorry.
Okay, cool.
Send me the link for the live stream as well. I don't know where to send people to watch it live.
It's just the 5 TV shows, but I'll send that to you. It might be after.
I'll do it next time. Send me the YouTube link later. Thank you, guys. We'll continue this conversation tomorrow. Very interesting stuff.
So I looked up, what has Mamdani done? Is he turning New York into some kind of socialist hellscape? And some of the stuff he's done, he's secured $1.2 billion to help people pay for childcare. He's strengthened the mayor's office to protect tenants from bad landlords. He's appointed. He's gotten a new majority on the Rent Guidelines Board to strengthen rent control. None of these things are going to turn New York into some kind of communist hell.
So the craziest issue is that, and this is why I get back to, we always condemn the Democrat Party, but never really do anything with the Republican Party, regardless of how crazy or whatever they say. Mitch McConnell, we don't know if the man is alive or dead. We haven't talked about him at all. They're holding a weekend at Bernie's to hold on for a position of power, and that won't affect anything with the Republican Party. No one will condemn them. But what happened when they were talking about Biden? It was the worst thing in the world. It was, oh my gosh, Donald Trump is doing some crazy things, but they don't even hold him to the same account. They're saying that that's all baked in the cake.
So Biden was caught falling asleep maybe once in public.
Yeah.
Trump falls asleep on a weekly basis.
Yeah. And so that's why, it's always interesting to me when we have these discussions. It always tends to be a condemnation on one party, but never even touching the party that's been crazy. Oh, the Democratic Socialists. Well, what about we are literally having Donald Trump hanging out with Laura Loomer, who's a well-known white supremacist.
So Loomer was locked up in a loony bin twice by her own family for being nuts.
And she has the ear of the current president of the United States, but we don't talk about it at all. We don't even consider it to be crazy. So that's something that we as that's why I go off on the deep end, and I'm like pushing back on these things because we're having that complete double standard and not really having an honest conversation about things to try and get things done. Manchin is, he's what Steve was talking about. Oh, he's trying to get these independent candidates. Well, Manchin's not really pretty independent. He's a blue dog Democrat. I'll give him that. But he's still not even calling out the other party, but more so working with the other party that's doing some crazy things just because he wants to say that he's a unifier. No, you're not. You're just John Fetterman is the go-to Republican Democrat because he wants to work together. Dude, you're not. You're just trying to get a moniker so you can act like you're doing something, but you're not actually doing anything for the people around you, the people that voted for you. So Mamdani, they tried to label him that, but no, all he's doing is everything that the people wanted in the first place. These Democratic social, I kind of look at it as Newsroom, the show that was on HBO. Had that one bit at the very beginning of their very first show, having the Republican and the Democrat there, and it's true. This dude's the Republicans yelling freedom, 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 and everybody's cheering. Okay, you said nothing about a policy, but everybody's cheering and wanting it. And then the Democrat tries to say something, but says it in such a timid way, and he points out that hey, people see you and they see you don't do anything. You're feckless. You don't do nothing. People see you. Everybody understands we have freedom all over the country. What are you yelling freedom for? It does nothing.
I guarantee that the quality of life in New York City is largely unchanged. It's still the same thing. You still ride in the subway. The subway is 10 cars. Every once in a while, you'll see like an empty car and you'll run in thinking, I got a car all to myself. Nope, it's because there's a homeless guy there and he's shit in the car.
And the thing is that what Mamdani's doing is going to incrementally improve some of the lives of the individuals.
Right.
It's not going to do everybody at one time, but everybody's looking for this 5-second silver bullet it's not that way. It's not like
the rats in New York City are still this big. You know, there's still going to be in this. It's August, so New York City is going to smell like hot garbage. But it's still a great city. You could probably, when I lived there, you could buy a slice for $1. Probably a slice now is probably $2.50. Still a nice slice.
Yeah, and there's just so many things that we tend to attack. Again, only one side, and that's what gets me. If you look at the highest poverty states are all states in the red, yet we sit here and complain, oh, well, New York City.
And the murder states, the biggest murder states are red states.
But no, Democrats don't. Let's hold people to the same standard because we're never going to get to a solution until we hold people to the same standard. If you're going to hold Democrats to a position where, oh, well, everything has to be perfect, well, let's fix Florida, where the governor is screwing everybody over. The state senator screwed everybody over in one of the largest medical fraud cases ever. Let's hold.
So Dems are afraid of appearing unreasonable.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like you have the Republican Party that's a car salesman, and you have people that are coming in to buy a car. And when you come in, you negotiate. You have your offer. The car salesman has their offer. And you kind of balance it out in between. Yeah. In this, if the Republican Party or the car salesman, the Democrat Party comes in, they're like, oh, well, we're going to offer this roughly about the same because we don't want to see that.
To negotiate a car, if you go in there all reasonable, you're going to get screwed. You have to be as unreasonable in favor of yourself as the dealer is for themselves. They'll quote you a price. You need to go, fuck no, that's crazy. We're walking. And then they'll go, hold on, let me get my manager.
And that, honestly, the reason I use that analogy is that is why that's why people voted for Trump. That's why people are looking at the Democrat socialists now. That's why people are voting for other individuals. It's not because, and don't get me wrong, love Steve to death, but his perspective is trying to take this balanced approach. And hey, we're gonna No, people want something done because they're hurting badly. And right now they want to see
And
somebody.
a lot of people knew the election was lost. When somebody takes a bunch of shots at Trump, he gets hit by shrapnel, his ear is bleeding, he pops up and puts his fist in the air and goes, fight, fight, fight. That won the election. I mean, he probably might have won, probably would have won anyway, but that got him another 2.
He wasn't going to win. That was what got him. Because if you look at the polling, he started things started changing. It didn't matter whatever he said, because once the 2 shots and he became a victim, he's fighting for me. It became a martyr situation, and people saw him as a martyr.
Okay. All right. I'll see you over, I guess, at the next show.
Yeah. All right. See you, Rick.
Bye.
Oh, watch East Palace. It's fun. East Palace and
Eve's Palace, like Adam and Eve?
No, East. Like East West.
Okay.
East Palace is I think it might be Chinese or Japanese, but it's a neat show. It's actually pretty good. And then watch Teach You a Lesson. That's a Korean show.
Okay.
It's pretty funny.
Okay, so I'm waiting for 3 Body Problem to come back. I'm excited.
Oh yeah, that's around the way. That's on the way.
All right, thank you.
All right, I'll see you, Rick.